lift my arm up and they spin. And I've had some ladies who were fantastic. I mean, I don't see how they do it, but they spin like a top.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, really makes me look good. You know?
So what's the John dance again?
Yeah, the studio call it the John's Dance.
Oh, yeah?
And so far, I'm the only one that does it. And it's not as difficult as some spinning dance, but it's something that, you know, I can get a hold of her and start to walk in a circle to the music beat. And I tell her this is the best dance that I like to do, and you knew I would do it. And then they laugh about that.
Right.
And then after we're walking real fast to the beat of the music, I just lift my left hand up, you know, and that's their cue to spin. And they're spinning, and they're spinning away from me, and I'm walking towards them all the time.
John wants to talk to you, Dad.
Okay. Cruising ship, and I was in a stateroom with 4 other guys, and I got seasick. I got seasick in a bathtub, and they broke into the storeroom and got a case of orange juice, and brought it out and filled my cup with orange juice.
Grandpa, you gotta tell Jen about Tonga Taboo.
Huh? Tonga Taboo.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because she hasn't heard the story.
I haven't.
Well, I had a crew of men. I'll shake this out. I'll go outside, okay?
It's okay, don't worry about it.
Anyhow, I was on this island. Tonga Taboo was a small island in the Cook Island group. And they sent me overseas. They sent me to Australia first. I was in Brisbane a month, and then they put me on a ship and took me out to Tonga Taboo. I had a crew of men. My MO was Major Aircraft Overhaul Shop Chief. I repaired P-40s and B-17s, B-24s. I had a crew of about 30 men. And so one day we put a new engine in a P-40, a 16-cylinder inline engine, 4-bladed prop, and it was armed with 50 caliber machine guns, and I usually ground test it, just took it around the area. So this time I told one of the mechanics, I said, I might as well flight test this while I'm ground testing. And I buzzed off, you know. And he ran back and told the CO. And when I got at the end of the runway, takeoff position, I looked over and a crowd of men just rolled out from the jungle, you know. They're going to see Grumbine kill himself. And so I thought I'd give them a treat anyhow. So I throttled up and got to the point where I could lift up the tail a little bit. And after I went a piece, I eased on the brakes and backed down on the throttle, and when I got near the end of the runway, I just turned it back into the flight line, you know. And I looked over and I noticed that crowd of men disappeared. The show was over. And the CEO, nobody said a word to me. I don't know. I guess, you know, I'd been doing this, and they thought, well, that's okay. But I did know a little bit about flying because I was taking lessons in Piper Cubs and I was shooting landings and takeoffs before I went into the service. And but that was like one of the things I did, and I did give them a kind of a show, you know. They liked that. And, and when pigs, the natives pigs fell into foxholes, we pulled them out and butchered them and ate them. And we used to go at night to near the native huts and grab chickens that were roosting in the trees, and then go up the trail, you know, and defeather them and cook them, things like that. And we used to shoot at the weather balloon when the weatherman put the balloons up, you know.
You shoot at them?
Yeah.
You never told me that one.
You're a little rascal.
We were there wasn't any military action, you know. The Japs weren't near us at that point. But then they moved us up to Espiritu Santo, and that was some distance from Guadalcanal. And I was in a 5-man tent with 4 other guys, and we had a 5-man foxhole. Always had a foot of water at the bottom of it from recent rains, you know. And that one day, the Japs would come over at midnight and bomb the ships, you know. So I had a shot. I don't know whether it was a tetanus shot or what, but anyhow, I wasn't feeling well. And the Japs came over and the sirens went off, and the 4 guys jumped in the foxhole, and I laid there, and they said, "Come on, Grumbine, get in here." And I said, "They're after the ships in the harbor. They're not going to come near here." I didn't know it, but they had moved a battery near where our tent area was, and they started firing at the Japs. And I thought it was the Japs bombing.
Yeah.
And I dove with my mosquito netting around me, and I landed in the center of the floor. And from there, I made a leap towards the foxhole, of course. And when I hit them all on the heads, I filtered down through them, and they were all excited, and they were tramping all over me, and I was being stomped in the mud. Really.
Oh no.
I'll never forget that. And because there was a foot of rain at the bottom of that foxhole. But that was the only time that happened. But there were a couple other times we had to dive for cover, you know. Japs, they came over regularly. You know.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. I never knew whether I was close to the enemy. I was really lucky. I never had to face the enemy. But they came after me. I mean, in their bombing raids, and we had to run for cover. And that's the closest that I ever got that I was aware that I was close to the enemy. I flew an aircraft over there, and I did ride on ships, but I never knew whether the enemy was nearby. And we got 4 days out of Brisbane, Australia, and we got into a storm, and the portholes were open. I was sitting in the mess hall, and the ship rolled, and the water poured in and the sailors came running and swam over and closed the portholes, you know, and I went out on deck, and there were Liberty ships. It was a convoy, and I looked up and saw the Liberty ships with their propellers spinning in midair, you know, they were sitting on the crest of a wave. And the next time around, we were up there looking down at them. It was kind of wild, you know.
So the waves were so big you were looking down on the
Yeah.
ships.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, it was a bad storm. But that's the only danger I guess I was in with that.